without his ball and chain, Chet Pleban. Mayor Adam Paul, welcome back to Big 550 KTRS.
Good, it does. I feel naked without Chet. Chet's usually my road dog over here.
All right, yesterday, Tony Messenger was on the show talking about a column he wrote about regionalism, and in this column, he talks about you as the mayor of Ellisville who want to put a non-binding resolution on a ballot to get the citizens of Ellisville to vote on whether or not you want to participate in this city-county merger. We got a call from you. You wanted to come in.
Sure. Well, you know, they give the Better Together gives the canned response that that I'm it's a race issue or I'm trying to protect my fiefdom, and that couldn't be further from the truth. I'm actually term limited out in April, and I'm married to an African American woman, and I have 2 interracial children. So those arguments don't work. You've got to be the village idiot to think that any sort of merger or consolidation right now is appropriate. Comptroller Green of St. Louis City just came out and said that St. Louis is $2 billion in debt, and you don't need to hire Chet Pleban to review the balance sheet. They spend $1 billion in costs, and their revenue is only $500 million. So to say that I'm not supporting regionalism, I'd like to argue that as well, because essentially what Better Together is trying to do is usurp the vote of the city and the county voters and put this on a statewide ballot to change the Missouri Constitution merger language. And essentially all I did was put two non-binding ballot measures on the Ellisville for a vote to the Ellisville constituents. Right. In April, so that way we can show with concrete evidence to our state legislators, who, by the way, have, Better Together or Rex Sinkfield, billionaire mega donor, has greased the palms of senior leadership of both the Senate and the House. It's a very scary issue. Ron Richards, the president pro tem of the Senate, has already said publicly that the 2 biggest issues for him next year, this guy's in Joplin, by the way, is to merge the 90 fiefdoms and also to privatize St. Louis Airport, which is St. Louis's biggest asset. It's a $4 billion asset. So at the end of the day, Better Together is not a bunch of college interns doing a book report on civic duties and how we can make St. Louis better. It's being done by Executive Director Nancy Rice. She's a very formidable political operative. Mm-hmm. She's worked for various tax measures and lobbyist arms for Jefferson City for years. So she's like a Ray Donovan for getting these things done.
There's no question that Better Together has a point of view, and the question is whether they're doing all sorts of things to show how we have redundancies in city governments. Do we really need 50 some odd police departments? Do we really need 26 people, 26 companies picking up trash? I mean, aren't there things we can do to sort of cut the costs and still provide the same services?
Well, for that point, I mean, look at if they say we have a combined services per capita cost of $1,800 in the region. Well, if you separate the city and the county, it's $1,200 or it's $1,500 for county and $2,500 for city residents. So it's not exactly what Tony Messenger said the other day, that it's the name on the side of the garbage truck. It's the cost for services, and it's the quality of services. Our police response times 4 minutes. Our paramedics come in 5 minutes. And I could sit here and if I had a longer segment, I could sit here and argue that these several different municipalities is almost like a diversified portfolio of stocks. Yeah, you're going to have some bad eggs, but for the most part, these mayors make $10 an hour. I make $10 an hour. It's not my full-time job. It's a part-time job, full-time responsibility, and I've got a fiduciary responsibility to my constituents. Okay, and I need to tell them climbing into bed with St. Louis, and everyone wants St. Louis to succeed. We already pay as county residents for museums, the zoo, Busch Stadium, the Arch Grounds. We already pay our fair share of taxes. We've bailed out the city and collaborated with the city on several things. But climbing into bed with a city that is $2 billion in debt and a balance sheet of $1 billion in costs and only $500 million in revenue is like advising my constituents to climb into bed with a Tijuana prostitute with no protection. I mean, it's a terrible, terrible decision. What St. Louis needs right now is how to make St. Louis City better. And you want to talk about fragmentation, for 300,000 residents, they have 28 aldermen who make $37,000 a year. And for 300,000 residents. And to put that in perspective, St. Louis County has 7 county councilmen who make $20,000, who represent 1 million people. So right now, I think we have the buggy before the horse, and St. Louis really needs to fix itself. No one wants to see St. Louis fail. And when I do these ballot measures and you see how they attack me immediately, that's their message. They're masters at messengers. And that's fine. I'm a big boy. I can take it. But at the end of the day, we've got to look out for what's the best interest of the region. And I believe that fix some of the problems St. Louis has right now. The biggest from an executive level leadership is crime and safety. And I think St. Louis has already hit rock bottom. I think they're reemerging. But at the end of the day, bailing out St. Louis and the 19-person board on this Better Together, there's not one local elected official on there, okay? This is nothing more than a bailout for the investor class who holds municipal bonds for the city to circumvent them going from filing Chapter 9 bankruptcy and going to junk bond status.
Mayor Adam Paul, our guest, City of Ellisville, responding to Tony Messenger's column in the Post-Dispatch and then his comments on the show yesterday. They are reducing the number of aldermen in the next census.
Correct.
So I think they're going from 28 to 14. I think they're cutting in half. You came on the scene fighting against the fiefdoms because as mayor of Ellisville, you fought successfully about TIFs and taxes to steal one Walmart from one town to another. So in that instance, you were in favor of regionalism and or going against this sort of one city against another.
No, first off, I fought TIF, or tax increment financing. By the way, St. Louis is the biggest abuser of TIF. If you look at the TIF map, St. Louis is giving away the farm, and you wonder why there's shortfalls in budget for their school districts. I mean, all that money is being siphoned away from the city. But the county's had its issues as well, and that's a tool being used by municipalities that was implemented on the state level. It's a state statute. It was the tax increment financing. And of course, the municipalities are going to take advantage of whatever tools they can use. And it doesn't help the region. Although, and again, I'm not opposed to any looking at efficiencies for municipalities or how to better ourselves. Or even if a merger, if I had concrete facts from a fair and unbiased tribunal, in a government-sanctioned study, not some mega billionaire Rex Sinkfield, funded Better Together, which is a 501c3, acting as a lobbyist organization, essentially, is what they're doing. And they're very good at what they do. But, at the end of the day, I'm all for looking for efficiencies in local government. But I believe that local government is the best government. When you have a unigov, it actually separates the poor from the rich. The rich can throw money at people's campaigns and get their people elected, where the poor can't. And then they get the contracts and the projects and the jobs. I think local government's the best government because you can call your mayor, your alderman, if the grass isn't cut or if they're going to build a fast food restaurant at the end of your block and you don't want it. Those are the people that listen to you. Those are the people that have a fiduciary responsibility to their residents who don't have $500,000 campaign contributions from a billionaire. These are the people that are going to look out for their residents the best. So I believe local government is the best. You
might be term limited out. You might make $10 an hour. You might be doing it for all the right reasons. But can you say that about all the mayors? Can you say that about all the police departments? You can't. You're going to have, it's just like I said, it's like a diversified portfolio of stocks. You're not going to have, all your stocks aren't going to be working exceptionally, right? You're always going to have a few bad eggs in the bunch. But let me ask you this. When you have a big one unit gov or 9 boroughs or whatever they're proposing, it's much harder when you have one bad person and that oversees that entire region versus a bunch of separate little entities that control their destiny. And I have an argument that I would say the reason why the county's not block by block safety versus crime like the city is because you have these municipalities, that are run efficiently and that are run well. And I would honestly say that you've got North County mayors that do a very good job. You've got some little some areas that you have a few bad eggs in the bunch, but the overwhelming majority of the folks that are running for office, for local office, for councilmen and aldermen of these towns are doing it because they're civic-minded individuals. For the most part, you're always going to have somebody that's in there for power or for political gain, or that's not in there for the right reason. And so your non-binding resolution that you're putting on the ballot says what? It says essentially what the two biggest possible outcomes are going to be. And the reason why I'm doing this, again, is because they're usurping the voters of the county and the city, who by the Missouri Constitution are the only two entities that vote.
They're trying to go to Jefferson City. They've greased the senior leadership of both the House and the Senate, and they're trying to circumvent that by putting it on a statewide ballot. So you have people from Joplin and Jefferson or in Kansas City dictating the future of our region.
Explain that to people, because people don't understand that. What do you mean? So what do you mean a statewide ballot to have the city and the county merge together?
Well, they know as it stands right now, there's no way. You got to be the village idiot if you're a county voter to want to climb into bed with the city, because the city's, it's they're financially in debt. They actually, the best thing the city can do, and you need to have one of the many aldermen in the city come in if you want to ask how to fix the problem. The best thing they can do is file Chapter 9 and reemerge from there.
No, but why is there going to be a statewide ballot?
Oh, statewide ballot is because right now the Missouri Constitution calls for a vote or a referendum between county and city voters. The way to change that is a statewide ballot to change the Constitution. And they have to go to the Jefferson City legislators, because that would never pass between the county and the city. And I don't think the city voters are in favor of it as well, because their property tax goes way up as well.
Do you think this non-binding resolution, do you think the city voters, the residents of Ellisville, will vote against or vote in favor of some type of merger?
I believe they'll vote. They'll be staunchly opposed. And let me tell you why. Because it's the city, you cannot promote 4 decades of terrible policy and terrible decisions like the city's made and give them a bailout. And essentially that's all this is. And again, you're enabling the continuance and the transgressions of the past to continue to run its course. And I think that the residents in the county are smarter than that.
That is the mayor, Adam Paul. Well, it's a good thing you had something to say today.
Yeah, thank you.
Just a little.
It's good seeing you guys.
You're always welcome here. The mayor of Ellisville, Adam Paul. I'm assuming, have you spoken to Better Together? Have you had meetings with them? Have you talked with them?
I've met with Nancy Rice, and she's a very nice lady. But that's who you hire if you want to get things done. That's not what you hire if you want to do a database of a data dump and data dive to see what we can do to better the region. So,
Mayor Adam Paul.
There you go.
He's term limited out. Get him off the ballot quick. Thanks for coming in, Adam.
Guys.
Have a good day. 7:29.